Hello, everyone, and welcome to a mini seminar on behalf of Spiritualism New Zealand. My name is Kim Chamberlain, and today we have with us Kirsty Salisbury from Auckland, who is an author, an end-of-life supporter, and runs a podcast called Let's Talk Near Death. And she's going to talk on the fascinating topic of death and dying. It's really good to have you here, Kirsty, and I'm going to start off with the most basic question. What made you go into this type of work?
Yeah, this is the type of work which hasn't been so common, but I think that's changing. I am fascinated by death and dying, and I think on the other side of that, I'm fascinated by how we can truly live and why we're here, what our purpose
Mm,
is, what is the point of this whole experience that we're having. I had I guess you call it a brush with death when I was really young. I was 12 years old and I got extremely sick, ended up flatlining on an operating table,
wow.
became obsessed with what was that about and yeah, how do we truly live? So that I was quite young at the time. That led on to just asking a lot of really big questions, feeling a little bit like I didn't really think the way that everyone else did. I wanted to know about all these topics and I wasn't so interested in the other stuff in life. So led me on to have some conversations, and now I'm just really passionate about opening up the space to talk about
Mm,
death and dying because none of us are getting out of here alive. It's going to happen to all
exactly.
of us.
Yeah.
And how can we make it better? How can we experience? Is there such a thing as to die well? Is my thoughts, my question.
Okay, well, let's go to that. Can we die well?
Well, I think so. There's no right way to do death. I think that death is very, very personal. The
Mm,
experience that we go through, it's so individual for a start. What one person experiences, somebody might not go through exactly the same thing. There's so many different ways to do it.
mm,
So, can we do it well? I think a lot of doing it well, it comes down to being prepared for it because it's going to happen to all of us,
mm,
not leaving a really big mess for somebody to have to clean up, especially if they're in the height of grief, if you've lost
mm,
somebody and it's all happened suddenly. I'm not underestimating how painful death can be when I'm talking about dying well, but I think it's about leaving this world in a very conscious way where we're conscious of our relationships, our conversations. Is everything okay? Have we said everything we need to
mm,
say? Have we
mm.
left a big mess behind? Have we left a big feeling of love and do people know how much we cared for them? So it's not all just the
Yeah.
negative stuff and tidying things. It's have we really communicated to the people that mean the most to us that they mean the most to us?
Oh, that's lovely. And we think we've got loads of time, which we may have.
Well, we may, but we may not. I mean, I was 12 when my first
Yes.
thing happened. We just
Yes.
don't know. You don't know.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
tell us about your podcast then.
Okay, so the podcast is all about life, death, and experiences in between. Like I said earlier, I'm really passionate about this topic. I am really interested about can we die well? What is death like? What is how do we experience that? Are there things we can look for? Are there patterns? What is death all about? And then through that, I think I've been asking big questions around are we here forever? Do we come back? Do we reincarnate? Are we physical beings? Are we spiritual beings? There's so many points in the conversation. Death seemed like such a small topic to me at one point. You're
Mm,
either alive or you're dead.
mm,
But
mm,
I believe that's not the case. I think through all the research that I've done, I think even the moment of death isn't necessarily a defined point in time. I think that we can go back and forth between this world and
mm,
death and come back and forth. And I've talked with a lot of people in clinical spaces, doctors, surgeons, specialists in the field, and asked them a lot of questions around can we control our death? Can we influence our death? What is it like? And the feedback that I've had, the conversations that I've had have just led me to really believe that it's so much more than just this lifetime. So there's so much in it. I'm sorry, Kim, you may need to cut this out. I've completely forgotten your
But I do
questions.
have a next question,
Okay,
um,
great.
which will all be related. You're a
Okay.
death doula.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So tell us about that then.
So a death doula, that's someone who plays a non-medical role and helps either individuals or families at the end stages of life. So
Right.
somebody might get a diagnosis and perhaps they don't have family living in their city. So I worked with one gentleman and he was fabulous. He was well in his 90s. His family all lived in a different city. So my part in that was to go and support him and help him in ways that he could. Now, it's non-medical, so I'm not medicating, I'm not offering any kind of treatment in any way, but I can sit and be with him. I can support the family who are at a distance.
Mm,
It's
mm,
really just been available for what they might need. It might be advocating for the family, taking them to appointments, taking them to meetings. It might be if someone has a diagnosis and the family needs support, that they can create spaces to be able to go spend time with a loved one who's not well, or doing research. It can look like so many different things, but it's somebody who basically helps people at the end of life. And that may be getting affairs together, it may be helping with wills,
mm,
end of life planning, all of these beautiful things that we can do to what I believe die well.
mm.
A death doula is someone who comes in and just offers support, and there's no set framework of what that looks like. It starts before death, it can start before diagnosis, even. So it goes right through and it carries on, it
All
can be
right.
after death. So it
Right.
can be, I'm also a certified funeral celebrant. So it can be helping with funerals, it can be organizing things logistically, providing support for the family. The list goes on. There's so
Yes.
much in it,
Yes.
but it's helping people to die, basically.
Yes. That's really nice. That must be a
Yeah.
lovely, lovely thing to do.
Oh, it is. It is. But it's still a bit of a shock when people actually die because you get a bit attached
Yes, of
and
course.
then they die. And you're like, oh, I
Yeah,
wasn't really expecting that. But that's the whole reason you're there. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very meaningful role and it can
Mm,
look like a lot of different things. Yeah.
that's so lovely. So people obviously have fears about dying. What are the main kind of fears?
Oh, I love this question because there are so many different things. Some people are simply afraid to exist.
Oh.
that to not be here. Now, you've got to remember it's based on how we are raised, our belief systems, our
Mm,
cultural
mm,
influences. There are so many elements, which again makes this topic of death so, so big. I've spoken to a lot of people. People are afraid of what they leave behind. People are afraid of not seeing their family members grow up. Maybe
mm.
they've got children, maybe they've got parents still, and they don't want to go before their parents.
Mm.
There's all sorts of things, people failing to exist, just where will I go? Afraid of what's beyond this physical world that we're in. There are
Yes.
so many reasons. And I think the fear just mostly comes from we don't know.
Mm,
Some of us believe we
mm,
do know,
mm.
but for the majority of us, it's not something we have necessarily done before. And again, many of us will think that we have done it before. So it comes down to personal belief, personal
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
The fear is very, very real, fear of death. Yeah.
Of
And
course.
grief and loss and all of the things that
All
we
of it.
haven't had much experience with.
All of it. Now, you've written a couple of books, haven't you?
I have, yes, yes, I have. You can actually see some behind me that
And do
way if
these
you're in
cover
the
all
video.
of these topics then?
Yes, they do. So, A Life by Design is my story that I took quite some time to get out there because coming to terms with a near-death experience, with loss, grief, what do I do with my new world that I'm in?
Mm,
Was my first one, and that was my story that I knew would always come out at some point. So that takes you on the journey through my own illness and what happened there. And I believe that actually we have some element of being able to design our life. All of the little
mm,
things make the big things. It's a question I love to ask people is do you think that your life is predestined? Is everything set out and we just go through the motions, or can we choose? Is
mm,
this like a choose your own adventure? I've
mm.
then got Let's Talk Life Design, which is stories of people overcoming personal things that they've been through. So whether that's illness or loss or grief, it may be grief in terms of somebody, their house burnt down,
Oh,
Another man was held at gunpoint. That was an interesting story. So it carries on that theme of we all have things that happen in life. We all go through really tough physical experiences. What do we do with them? How can we use them? And can we design a future pulling things out of those things? So it's like strategies of how to live our best life. Because I think when we talk about death and dying, the flip side of that is life and living.
that's
And that's
exactly right. Yes.
I want to squeeze the juice out of this life. I want to have a whole lot of fun. I quite enjoy life. I know
Yes.
there's some people out there who are like, man, what is this? This is so hard. And I get that. Me personally, I quite enjoy life. I don't want to go yet. I don't
No.
know when my time is. I'm having a ball. I love it.
Great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
And then obviously the middle one is dying well. So this is it's almost like a little notebook, I don't know, a workbook, and
All
you can
right.
fill in everything. So this is quite holistic based. It takes different perspectives around death and dying. It is planning things, so sorting out your affairs. What are all your passwords for everything? If you died today,
Mm, mm,
what would people have to deal with? What subscriptions have you got? Keeping it on an everyday basis. It then
mm.
goes into if you have a funeral, what do you want that to look like? Is there anyone that you want there? Is there anyone that you don't want there? Um,
Oh,
and
wow.
then it focuses on the fun things in life. What are your stories? What are the things you want to be remembered for? What do you want to leave when you go?
Mm,
A lot of death can be about planning and grief and heavy things. And again, I'm not dismissing any of these things because death is really heavy and there is grief.
mm,
But
mm.
what are the fun things? What's your favorite memory? When did you get in trouble as a teenager? What
Yeah.
was your first, I don't know, you could pick anything, any of the good things as well. So it's about drawing stories out, being prepared. What do you think happens when you die? We talk a little bit about the spiritual side. Do you believe you go on? Do you believe you reincarnate? Do you believe the end is the end and that's it?
Mm.
And it's just literally a book. It's not something that can be used legally, but you can file it with your
Right.
doctor and you can
Right.
actually put in writing. So it's not a will, it's not anything that can be used legally, but it really helps the process. It really
Of course.
helps
Helps
to
everybody else. Yes.
get it
Yeah.
sorted and you can give it to your doctor who knows exactly what your wishes are at end of life should you become unwell
Oh, that's
or
great. That's
need a
really,
bit
really
more.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think people know when they're about to die?
The stories I have heard lead me to believe that perhaps we do.
We
I don't know
do.
that we all do, but perhaps some of us do. I've heard stories of people talking about their death. There's one that jumps to mind instantly, and it was a guy, and he actually was going out for the day, and his wife said, "Okay, I'll see you later." He said, "Oh, yes, yes, I'll see you after my crash. I'll talk to you. I'll phone you. I'll
Oh,
talk to you after my crash."
oh my
And
goodness.
she was just like, "Don't play with me like that. Do not be like that." He crashed that day. He died at the scene.
Oh no.
Um, her phone started to ring in the morgue down in the hospital, in the basement. And I don't know how that worked because his phone was destroyed.
Oh no.
I have heard so many stories, amazing things. So, do we have the ability to predict our death? I don't know for sure, but I've heard story after story where I believe that maybe we just know. So
Hmm.
the same guy, he had an inkling. He went and updated his life insurance just in the weeks beforehand.
Hmm.
He was acting not out of, anything weird, but just starting to make little things that in hindsight you look at it and you go, oh, I
He
wonder if
knew.
he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And have you had any other experiences that you just can't explain?
quite a few.
Yes.
And again, a lot of the stories that I hear through the podcast, through chatting with people about these topics, there are so many that you just can't explain. For me personally, I've had that one, which I wasn't with her at the time, but definitely was involved in the process. It was quite a close friend. For me, I have seen books. So my books, I got a reprint done, and some of them weren't quite right. The margins were just off,
Mm.
and I went through the whole box, and all the margins were off, and I was really
Oh,
upset. And then I went and talked to someone, and I went and we were doing I guess you call it a spiritual session. And I mentioned that my books had this issue. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. They're all going to be fine." And then over the next few days, I came home and I looked at them again, and the margins had physically changed and
Oh
they
my
were all
God.
okay. And I went through the whole box and there wasn't a single one. It was
Oh my
like it
God.
never happened. And so I can't explain that. Was it because I went and had this session with this lady? I don't know. I can't explain that. There's just things, when you know things
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
just know that you
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
um, can't explain it, but things like that happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been a lot of times, a lot of situations. The stories that people have are just incredible, things that they
Mm,
can't explain. Obviously,
mm.
they're not firsthand for me. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's so many things I want to ask you, but we need to keep it a bit short. So I'm just going to ask you one last question.
Uh-huh.
Has anybody ever come back different?
Yes. Many, many
Okay.
people. Many
Oh, okay.
people. So I'm assuming you mean when they've had a death experience, they've died and
Yes.
come back. Yeah.
Yes.
So in my interviews, I've talked with a lot of people. There, again, there's a lot of themes that come out. I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of
Oh, okay.
experiences.
Yeah.
So yes, some people come back and they suddenly have music abilities that they
Oh.
never had before, or they're an artist. Never considered that before. Suddenly they can paint incredible art and it feels very meaningful. People, I'd say that everyone comes back changed. There
Mm,
are some themes people come back and they can't quite fit back into this physical reality. It's the same, but it's not quite the same.
mm.
And some people have talked about how maybe that's like putting on a wetsuit. When
Mm.
you've had a
Oh,
wetsuit, you've been for a
yes.
swim, you
Yeah.
take it
Yeah.
off and it's just, it doesn't quite fit and it's an
Yeah.
effort to get it in. That's one way that I've heard people talk about coming back. People come back and often they're quite changed and they want to do something completely different with their life. They don't want to go back to their regular
Mm,
job. They don't want to go
mm,
back to their regular environment. People have come back entirely different. I love the ones where it's, yeah, they're suddenly creative. They've suddenly got these abilities. A lot of people come back with spiritual abilities and they're suddenly able to connect with the other side quite well. So they might become a medium or have spiritual abilities that way. They'll
mm,
know things, they might see things. People can have issues with electronics, like I think you call it electromagnetics. One lady, I talked with her and she said she can walk down the street and the street lights will go out where
oh,
she is.
crikey.
And then she walks a bit further and then they start to come on when she's gone past them. A lot of people have issues with watches, things
Mm,
like the watch won't stay the same. And I'm curious to know if that's still a thing with an Apple Watch. But the batteries would keep stopping, and so having to just change that. The batteries would stop over and over again. The time would be wrong, things would go wrong, electrics wouldn't work. Remote controls are another thing, TVs turning on.
mm.
I don't want to spook anyone out because it's not scary stuff, but people come back with abilities, physical changes, yeah, the works really. Yeah. And then there's all the emotional side, the physical side, because often
Yeah.
when you've been through a near-death experience, there is a physical healing that needs to take place. They need time. They might be injured in some way.
Mm, mm.
Come back emotionally different. Very, very different. Yes.
Yes. Very changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What a fascinating world you live in.
Oh, I mean, we all live in this world. We can all tap into it. The topic is enormous, and I feel like yeah, we're just really
Yeah.
at the tip there. So many amazing experiences and stories that I've heard. My
Mm,
main thing is I just want to live well. I want to live well and
mm,
die well, and let's really try to get the most out of our life.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, we've chosen to come here, so we might as well make the most of it.
I know, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Maybe not take it so seriously, which is really hard because I do, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much for this. I could talk to you forever, but what I'm going to do for people who are interested is I'm going to put all your details below the video with your website, and then
Oh, thank
people
you.
can find your books and find out about your podcast and I presume everything's on your websites.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's on the website, or just look out for the Let's Talk Near Death podcast and you'll find it. You'll find me.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Fascinating. Thank you so much for this, Kirsty. It's been really
Thank
good
you,
to speak to
Kim.
you. All
Thank
right.
you.
See you later.